Even if I did, there was no way he heard. The reporters were having fits of giggles about it all, but I cut in. Lies, lies. That only made them laugh harder. Willie, too. Now, he says, I can't help but wonder if there wasn't something else at play. I was training to get to the front lines, the same place Willie'd been training to get, but the palace had scuttled his plans. Despair? Sure. Let him run around on a battlefield like a chicken with his head cut off. It's what he likes, but the air...
It's rude to repeat itself, which is pretty dark.
That's quite a statement. Who do you think that is?
I'm not going to share at this point, you know? I know all the names of the people that were involved in this process. And again, you know, you have to question, why wasn't I put through the same risk management board that everybody else was put through, including members of my family?
And you rejected
What happens when your own brother, the future king of England, bars you from walking into a room full of flashing cameras and global headlines? Not for scandal, not for security, but because he simply doesn't want you there. Prince Harry, once Britain's Golden Prince, has just been banned from attending the 2025 BAFTA Awards, one of the UK's most prestigious events. And the person behind this shocking move? His own brother, Prince William.
Not only championed the industry's rising stars, but has helped to inspire the next generation of acting talent to pursue their...
This isn't just another headline in the ever-expanding saga of royal family drama. This is a quiet war, fought with silence, symbols, and cold, calculated choices. What really happened behind the scenes? Why was this decision made now? And what does this mean for the future of the royal family and Prince Harry's place in it? Because this ban isn't just a one-night snub. It might be the final nail in a brotherhood that once held the crown together. Let's break it down.
To repeat itself.
Yeah, I don't want history to repeat itself. I think there's a lot of other people out there, the majority, they also don't want history to repeat itself.
It started quietly. No dramatic press release, no headlines screaming scandal, just whispers behind velvet curtains, and one very simple word: no. Sources inside Buckingham Palace claim that Prince Harry reached out privately to the BAFTA organizers, hoping for a subtle, respectful appearance at the 2025 ceremony. No speeches, no red carpet strolls, just a moment, a return of sorts. But that return never came. What came instead was a stone-cold silence, and then a flat-out rejection.
Head of BAFTA and team leader of the BAFTA Be Better committee. I was told there was an Alan coming?
I am Alan coming.
Yes, indeed. Now, Alan arrived. Sorry about the letter on the chair, our email's down.
I know what this is about. You've nominated Lala as best canine co-host of a competition reality show, haven't you?
That isn't a category.
Well, it should be.
Look, you're a busyish man, so I'll cut to the chase. We at BAFTA, for this year's television...
Not because of logistical issues, not because of media frenzy, but because Prince William said no. As president of BAFTA, William holds real power over the event, and insiders say he used it. Not diplomatically, not formally, but strategically. Because behind that no wasn't just a protective older brother avoiding drama. It was a firm signal. You're not welcome here, not anymore.
It's rude to repeat itself, which is pretty dark.
That's quite a statement. Who do you think that is?
I'm not going to share at this point, you know? I know all the names of the people that were involved in this process. And again, you know, you have to question, why wasn't I put through the same risk management board that everybody else was put through, including members of my family?
And you rejected...
Remember, this is the same William who once stood shoulder to shoulder with Harry at their mother's funeral. The same pair who, years ago, vowed to protect each other against a world they never chose. But now, one of them sits at the heart of the monarchy, while the other watches from California.
Longer a working royal.
Sorry?
And you reject that it has nothing to do with the fact that you're no longer a working royal.
Whether I have an official role or not is irrelevant to the security that...
This wasn't about red carpets. It was about drawing a line in royal sand. And what came next, Harry's private reaction, would shake the palace walls. Behind closed doors, Prince Harry didn't take the rejection lightly. According to sources close to the Sussex Circle, he was furious, humiliated, and heartbreakingly alone.
One of those drab cloaks, okay? I'm just not.
This wasn't just about being denied a seat at an awards show. This was about being shut out in public by his own flesh and blood. Harry believed the BAFTA'S could serve as a soft re-entry into the UK spotlight, a respectful, non-controversial appearance that might rekindle a connection with the British public. A small olive branch in the middle of a storm that's raged for years. Instead, what he got was a slap in the face. One insider revealed Harry reached out in good faith. He didn't want headlines, he wanted healing. What he got was a door slammed shut by his brother. And then came the silence. No comment from the palace, no gesture from William, and not even a whisper from Meghan. For Harry, this wasn't just rejection, it was exile, delivered by someone he once trusted more than anyone.
And where no one can hear you scream. This castle is home to the traitors. Within a cruel twist of fate, Alan Cumming, the devilishly handsome host of the Traitors US, is summoned to receive a letter.
By order of the British Academy of Film and Television Arts, you have been summoned to the Traitors.
Imagine being told by your own family that your presence is now a liability, that your face might overshadow the event, that your story is no longer part of their story. Even more painful, the idea that William didn't just allow it to happen, he allegedly engineered it. And it wasn't just William's voice missing from the reaction. Meghan Markle, who had stood by Harry in interviews, books, documentaries, stayed completely silent. No post, no podcast line, not even a vague quote from a friend. To the public, it looked like the Sussexes were no longer standing side by side. To Harry, insiders say, it felt like abandonment all over again. He had hoped for a quiet return. What he got was a public reminder. The royal family isn't just leaving him behind, they're moving on without him. The most shocking part of the BAFTA fallout wasn't what Prince Harry said. It was what Meghan Markle didn't. For a woman known to challenge the press, speak up for her family, and fiercely defend her husband, this time she said nothing. No social media nod, no subtle Instagram quote, no anonymous source whispering to the press. Silence. And in the world of royal scandals, silence speaks volumes. Insiders close to the Sussexes say Meghan's decision to stay quiet was deliberate. Her focus, they claim, is now entirely on her rebranding in the US, with new business ventures, Hollywood partnerships, and a full pivot to lifestyle and entertainment. One source put it bluntly, Meghan's not trying to fix the past anymore. She's building something new, and she's not looking back. In other words, royal drama? Not her problem, but others see it differently. Some read Meghan's silence not as strategy, but as a quiet message. That Harry's obsession with returning to the UK, with reconnecting to a family that rejected them, might be his battle, not theirs. Maybe she's tired. Maybe she's done trying to win back a kingdom that never truly embraced her. Maybe, just maybe, she's moved on, while Harry hasn't. And that's where things get more complicated, because the couple's entire image, their brand, was built on unity. They left the monarchy together. They faced the world side by side. Every interview, every statement, every scandal, they were a team. Until now. One source familiar with their dynamic said, this wasn't just a quiet move. It was a power shift. Meghan's protecting her name, her projects, her future, and she's letting Harry handle his past. But what happens when that shared mission fractures? What happens when Harry finds himself on the battlefield alone, while Meghan builds a future far from the front lines? Because in the loudest royal moment of the year, Meghan chose silence. And that silence may echo longer than any press headline. For Prince Harry, this wasn't just a bad week. It was the clearest signal yet that the gates back into the royal fold are locked. Not jammed, locked. Sources say that King Charles hasn't spoken to Harry in months. No calls, no texts, no formal response to legal filings, just silence. From the man who once consoled him after his mother's demise. Some say Charles still carries guilt for the past, for the chaos, for being a father who couldn't hold the family together, but others believe that guilt has long since been replaced by something colder. Disappointment, exhaustion, finality. And as for Prince William, forget olive branches. Insiders say the future king has drawn a line in the sand and poured concrete over it. One palace aide reportedly said, William's done. No more peace talks, no more phone calls, no more second chances. Why? Because according to William, Harry didn't just leave leave the family, he burned the bridge behind him. Explosive interviews, a memoir full of private moments, accusations of betrayal, even that infamous claim that members of the royal family were involved in plotting his downfall. At one point, Harry even implied the royal institution, with help from the government, wanted him gone. That's not family drama. That's war. And it's the kind of accusation you can't walk back from. Not in public, not in private, not ever. William was reportedly furious, not over the attacks on himself, but the ones aimed at Kate. She's his line in the sand. And when Harry crossed it, everything changed. One source close to William said he could have forgiven the brotherly fights, the press drama, even the book, but dragging Kate into it, that's where it ended. And now, the royal family isn't just ignoring Harry, they're restructuring the monarchy without him. Events like the BAFTA'S aren't just ceremonies, they're statements. And this one was loud and clear. Prince Harry is no longer part of the story. He's not a prince in waiting. He's not a voice of reform. He's a man without a palace, and the family he left behind is locking the gates behind him. Just when it seemed things couldn't get worse, Prince Harry dropped the most jaw-dropping accusation of his public life. He didn't just suggest the royal family cut him off, he implied they may actually want him gone. Let that sink in. In a BBC interview, Harry claimed that losing his security wasn't just a matter of policy. It was a deliberate act of punishment. He hinted that without official protection, he and Meghan, and even their children, were left dangerously exposed. And when pressed about why that security vanished, his answer was chilling. I fear history repeating itself. For Harry, that history means Princess Diana, hounded by the press, abandoned by the crown, and ultimately lost in a tunnel in Paris. He believes the same forces are now circling him, and he's said it out loud. He accused the monarchy of colluding with the British government to strip him of protection, knowing full well the risk that carries, knowing the threats he still receives, knowing his past, his name, his bloodline make him a target. Some insiders were stunned. Even his most loyal fans paused, because that wasn't just a bold move, it was a nuclear one. Critics didn't hold back. They called him delusional, reckless. They asked, how do you beg for reconciliation while throwing grenades? Even longtime supporters began to question the strategy. How do you accuse your own family of plotting your demise and still ask for peace? One palace advisor reportedly responded in private with 4 words: he's gone too far. And just like that, any fragile hope of reunion shattered. The royal family, once simply cold, became frozen. And Prince William, according to one insider, didn't just shut the door, he locked it, bolted it, and threw away the key. Because this wasn't just about brothers anymore. This was about trust, reputation, and, in William's eyes, the future of the crown. And what Harry said next only pushed things deeper into darkness. Harry's words weren't just felt inside Buckingham Palace. They rippled through the public, and the reaction? Split, violent, conflicted. Some saw a man crying out for help, haunted by his past, desperate to protect his family from a legacy of pain. A modern royal, finally speaking truths that had been buried for generations. But others? They saw something much darker. A once respected prince becoming unrecognizable, caught in a cycle of victimhood, blame, and obsession. British tabloids pounced. Headlines called him paranoid. Editorials asked how long this war would drag on. And quietly, even Hollywood began to shift. The Sussex brand, once seen as bold and glamorous, is starting to wobble. Netflix, their documentary, had initial success, but follow-up projects stalled. Spotify, their deal ended with a thud, and one exec went so far as to call them grifters. What began as a royal revolution is now seen by some as an overplayed tragedy. One industry insider told Variety, "The narrative's run its course. There's only so many times you can say the palace did you wrong before people stop listening." And Meghan? She's not jumping back in. No rebuttals, no defense. Sources close to her say she's laser-focused on her personal brand, quietly working on fashion lines, media ventures, and high-level deals far away from anything royal. The once unbreakable Sussex unit now looks fractured, emotionally, strategically, and maybe even ideologically. And while Harry still speaks of reconciliation, the world is starting to ask, reconciliation with who? Because the monarchy isn't listening, Hollywood isn't investing, and even parts of the public are tuning out. Prince Harry once left the royal family to find freedom, but now he may be discovering a much harder truth. That freedom without connection can feel a lot like exile. When Harry and Meghan first stepped back from royal life, they were the hottest commodity on both sides of the Atlantic. A fresh face of modern royalty, a global couple with star power, purpose, and a massive public platform. Every studio wanted them. Every network offered deals. Every magazine printed their story. But fast forward to now, and something's shifted. Their multi-million-dollar Netflix deal, once hailed as groundbreaking, has quietly fizzled. While Harry and Meghan drew millions of viewers, the follow-ups? Delayed, underpromoted, in some cases shelved entirely. Spotify was even more blunt. After a single season of Meghan's podcast archetypes, they pulled the plug. One executive went so far as to call them grifters. That comment didn't just sting, it signaled something deeper. That the once untouchable Sussex brand was becoming a liability. Even their flagship passion project, the Invictus Games, hasn't escaped scrutiny. Once a shining example of Harry's dedication to wounded veterans, its future is now uncertain, quietly sidelined in the press, and struggling to recapture global buzz. So what happened? Industry insiders say the answer is simple: drama fatigue. At first, their story felt like a revolution. Now, for many, it feels like repetition. The same family feud, the same headlines, the same bitter tension, without resolution or evolution. Even Hollywood is stepping back. Producers are cautious, investors hesitant. One entertainment agent reportedly said, "Working with them now means inheriting the royal baggage, and people aren't sure the returns are worth it anymore." And all the while, William and Kate, the very figures Harry often paints as villains, have become more popular than ever. While Harry fights headlines, William is shaping policy, charity, and diplomacy. While Harry makes noise, William builds the quiet future of the monarchy. And now, the question is painfully clear. What does Harry stand for if the world stops watching? The BAFTA snub isn't about a red carpet. It's not about awards. It's about what it represents. Because this wasn't just a rejection from an event. This was a symbolic message from the establishment itself, that Prince Harry, once the cheeky, beloved soldier prince, is now seen not as royalty, but as a risk, not as a future king's brother, but as a problem to be managed. Insiders close to the royal circle described William's decision as necessary, not cruel, not vengeful, but a protective act for the monarchy, for the event, and for the legacy of what royalty is meant to represent. Because at this point, Harry isn't just a family member. He's a headline magnet, a wild card, a symbol of rebellion that now reads more like a cautionary tale. And the public? They're split. Some say William was right. That duty must come before drama. Others say the move was cold, heartless, and proof that the monarchy has no room for forgiveness. But perhaps the most striking reaction? Indifference. For a growing number of people, the royal drama has become background noise. The emotional weight is gone. The stakes feel lower. And the Sussex saga? Just another story they've already heard. And that's the real tragedy. Because once upon a time, Prince Harry had the world's heart. Now, he's not just shut out of the palace. He's shut out of the narrative. Prince Harry's exclusion from the 2025 BAFTA'S wasn't about tickets, seating charts, or paparazzi. It was about power, about perception, about the very institution that once embraced him now choosing to erase him. And for Harry, the message couldn't be clearer. You can walk away from the crown, but don't expect it to follow you. Because this wasn't just a red carpet he couldn't walk. It was a door, quietly, permanently closed. Now, the man who was once the heart of the royal family finds himself in a strange place. Not exiled by decree, but exiled by silence, by distance, by decisions. Some made by others, and some made by him. And whether he knows it or not, the kingdom has moved on. But what do you think? Did Prince William make the right call? Or is the royal family crossing lines that can never be undone? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want more untold stories behind the crown, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell. Because this royal drama, it's far from over.